Hey homies, welcome back to another episode of Home with J. Roche. Today I'm having happy hour with a very dope friend of mine. Him and I always go to happy hour. We like to do that to catch up. He's super dope and you're going to hear about all the super dope things that he has to offer and what he has coming up. Did you get the word? I'm saying dope a lot. So stay tuned. Today's episode is going to be dope. Hey homies, welcome back. Like I said, today I'm having a very dope happy hour with a dope friend of mine. Him and I have been friends probably like 12 years plus, and happy hour is our thing. When we need to catch up, we need to reset, whatever the case may be, him and I, we can literally pull up on each other at a happy hour at any time. So I can't wait for you guys to meet him because we got a lot of dope stuff to talk about. Hello.
What up?
Here's my friend, guys. This is Jameer, one half of Dope Shows. So
Yes.
tell us.
Glad to be here.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. So first off, we're going to drink a little bit. Y'all heard me plug Dope a bunch of times. Dope Shows fits him so much because the name, because he is just like all that. He's really one of my like top 5 dead or alive. No BS, just because we on camera. But for real, like he's always been solid, and we've had like instant chemistry from like the day we met. So Jameer, tell us who is Jameer and who is Dope Shows, or what is Dope Shows? I'm sorry.
Jameer Shaw from West Philadelphia. Started out, Dope Shows started 2017. Dope Shows is a global concert promotion company. Started here in Philadelphia, and we've been taking off. We got a super big show coming. To date, we've done 23 plus shows, 90% sellout rate. Got a lot of stuff going on.
So he didn't say. He said he got a big show coming, but I'm going to just tell y'all where it's at. So when he first told me where he was going to have the concert at, I'm like on the other end of the phone, like, damn, like you gotta have some paper, you know. You gotta have the artist. I couldn't believe it. Like I was mind blown, but I had like black girl joy just hearing like how far my friend has come in this business. So he rented out the Wells Fargo. So his concert is February 10th, and he's bringing Lil Baby, Lil Durk, Gunna, and G Herbo,
Young K, Lil Mook as well.
So a lot of those people, Jameer knows I don't know. I don't know all the time.
But you're gonna be there.
I will be there. Listen, I've missed some of the shows because I'm like,
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
We're gonna talk about the ones you missed.
But I support. I'll repost. I'll do whatever. But I was like, Jameer, I don't know these songs, but I'm excited, and I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
So, since we always have happy hour, because you know, we just digress during happy hour. And sometimes it's just him and I, or we have another third wheel, but he not here. And
shout out to our other third wheel. You know who you are.
So we enjoy happy hour so much, and I just wanted to do something in true fashion of Jameer and I. So today I made bourbon shrimp. I made
a smorgasbord.
A happy hour smorgasbord. Shout out to creating a happy hour charcuterie board. I don't know if I was the first one to do that, but we gonna say that I did.
This is a situation too.
So I made some bourbon shrimp, some pineapple henny wings, fresh cut fries because I only like fresh cut fries. Some salmon fingers and some fried shrimp. We got some dipping sauces going on, and we gonna talk and drink and catch up.
And we got these live Christmas balls.
So
or these dope Christmas balls.
Yes. So I made these little Christmas balls for our cocktails for Jameer. Just as a little, like, you know, thank you for coming on the show and kicking it with me. And also just some promo because he's super dope. And I had to put Dope Shows on there and I knew that I could. So, anywho, we're going to get some shots and stay tuned. So we about to get into these drinks out of these little dope Christmas balls.
Let's go.
If y'all, they was, you know, I'm trying to.
Let's get started.
I'm trying to be hospitable to Jameer, but I'm ready to start drinking because if we was a happy hour, the bartender would be pouring the drinks.
We be a couple doubles in.
Yeah, but I am the bartender and the hostess with the mostest for today. Okay.
Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome. So what's been up? Like what's some people don't know, but I was there for Insta. Jameer just got married. So
that's why we jumping into.
So okay, so just tell me, a little bit about. We know you missed the dope shows. I want to know what's up outside of dope shows.
All right, yeah, we gonna jump into it. So I recently got married.
And
best decision of my life.
Okay.
She been holding me down for years.
Okay.
Made most sense. We did it, made it happen. Had a beautiful wedding, and we moving on with it.
Do you feel like marriage changed anything?
I think for us, we already had the foundation, so I feel like it didn't necessarily. It was a time to just celebrate our union with the family and everyone else, and it was a great night.
I feel like people that have been together for a long time, they often say, it don't change anything. It's just like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
I feel like marriages give you more like, what's the word? I don't want to say like ownership, but
it do. Hell yeah, it do.
Like, yeah, more like bring you home. I got the right to question you.
It do.
I mean, but she's a great girl, so
amazing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be the person I am today without her.
Okay, so moving right into my next thing. So tell them how Dope Shows got started, because I know.
So Dope Shows got started because Steph and I.
Hungry?
Yeah, let's jump into. It got started. Steph and I was.
For those of you who don't know who Steph is.
Steph and Pioneer, that's my partner with the shows. Shout out to Steph. Steph and I was talking about doing a business together. We met through a mutual friend, or really a friend of his, a cousin of mine. We met. We was kicking it at the time. I was doing parties, so Steph would come to the parties. He would get sections. We would enjoy each other's company. We started saying to each other, just picking up on what he had going on at the time. He was doing real estate. I was doing parties. I was working at the school. We kept talking about doing a business together. At first, we was talking about doing like a nightclub, but I was kind of burnt out with the party scene. I was kind of looking for something different. At that time, I had just started sitting pretty too. So I was like, I didn't really want to be in the clubs as much as I used to be. So I was telling him, like, I didn't really think that the club idea was a great idea. Just also with the trends in Philly, like the club scene just seemed like clubs tend to die out over time.
They do.
You got like a short run. When us establishing the business, I knew I ain't wanted to be like something that was short. I wanted it to be something that could be for forever. So the show idea came up, and we really jumped. We jumped head first into it, and
I'm sorry. I'm listening to him, but I'm kind of clowning him over because I'm like, Jameer eating his food. I'm going to eat this food, okay?
But we ended up jumping right into it. We figured out some artists that we wanted to do. We had like a list of artists. Fab was one of them. We reached out to Fab and them team. And then the rest was kind of history. We ended up, Fab suggested that we put Kiss on it too. We did the Freddie vs. Jason. That was the first show. We sold it out in 6 weeks. And from there, it just was like, when we first started it, we were saying like we wanted to bring something to Philly, like something that would never go away, fill all the voids that we felt like we seen. Like Dope Fest is a festival we started. We felt like it wasn't no young, hip festival for black people here in the city. Where it's like that young demographic where you can come out and have fun. Where like even our last City Girl show, we introduced our Dope Lounge, which that was like the first time we had it. And with that, it was like kind of like a party inside the show. That was something like we always...
So is that like a VIP experience?
A VIP experience.
Okay.
We got it at the Wells Fargo too. It's 3 different areas. But I'm sure we're going to jump in all of that. But Dope Show started just from us seeing a void in the city of Philadelphia and wanting to kind of be the person that changed that, or be the company that changed that.
Okay, so I'm happy that Jameer touched base on doing parties. He didn't really want to do that. So for those of you who don't know, that is how Jameer and I met.
For sure.
So years ago, many, many moons ago, before I was, home with Jay Roche, I was a club promoter and a party promoter. And I did this.
One of the best.
But Philly wasn't ready. Philly wasn't ready. When I was doing parties, Philly was not ready because I wanted to do stuff, and Jameer was like, Jess, bring it back. Like, we got to know our audience.
Budget
like,
getting a little out of control, Jess.
So here I am. I want to bring in all the things that people are doing now, all the bells and whistles I was trying to do back then. So I used to do this party called Philadelphia Welcomes the Hamptons. And Jameer came with a mutual friend of ours. And I never forget, he was standing, it was like these steps at the venue. Like it was outside. It was beautiful. And I felt like the event didn't get the coverage that it really should have gotten because people just, Philly's a little cliquish. So it's like if you're not who they think you should be, people are not going to support your event. So that's why it's also tricky with doing the party industry. So I never forget, I came outside and Jameer and the two guys were standing out there and we were introduced. And he was like, "You did this yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he like, "You did all this yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like from everything. I rented white picket fences.
It was crazy.
Like all the bartenders, I had them all dressed in the same clothes, like everything, portable bars, the whole nine, food. It was like a really dope
event. The crazy thing about it is, honestly, I feel like your next event after that was us together. Like
it was.
I met Jess that night, and I was more so like, I gotta get in the mix of what she got going on. Like I was doing parties already, but I ain't had a decor side. I wasn't renting fences and putting it together in that way. I just was trying to bring people out.
And Jameer was still in college at the time, so
some of the best years of my life.
So Jess, literally, we exchanged numbers. And we would talk on the phone, like we would plan, like figure out events. So our next event, as he said, so we did that party. We connected instantly, like literally, like our chemistry was like magnetic. So yes, I call Jameer the black Mark Zuckerberg. He's literally like in his bio, you'll see the marketing genius. He really is. So after we were connected, we would literally sit there on the phone for hours while he was in Lock Haven. And talk on the phone, figure out parties. He would have class in the morning. We'd be up till 2:00 in the morning trying to map out an idea. And then he was like, "All right, Jess, I'll be home on Friday. We gonna have a meeting." Our meetings was AKA happy hour.
We gonna get lit at our meetings.
Yes. So we would meet for happy hour, AKA a meeting, and sit there and discuss different ideas of how we can do events. So like he said, my next event was House of Horror.
House of Horror.
And we did that together.
I feel like Philly ain't had a Halloween party that was on that swag in some years.
So House of Horror, we had this literally had the venue packed. The inside, the heated tent. We had a heated tent. Everything. Yeah. Like our parking lot was people was lined up to come to this party.
Just had mummies wrapped hanging from the ceilings. It was crazy. It really was like a haunted house, but with a party inside a haunted house.
Yes. So
and that was all you're doing.
And Jameer would just, he would let me rock out to a certain extent, and then he would hold it back.
When the budget start
getting crazy, he's like, "All right, Jess, bring." And when I say he's really my top 5 because we done walked away from parties broke together.
For sure.
Not made a dime. We done made money together. So our friendship is so organic because it really it started off of us just being introduced by a mutual person that we both love. And I felt like he knew that you and I would click.
Yeah, for sure.
He knew that
he was even pushing it dang, y'all should get together and do some events together and stuff like that. He she kind of got what you missing.
Yeah, he knew that we would click. So, the party industry definitely took a drastic change. So I am happy that you found a lane to me that is not dominated by people that look like us, often. So you have the Live Nations, you have all these other, concert promotion companies, but these are 2 young black men that are doing their thing. They're doing major artists. He's done Rick Ross. Now, he didn't tell y'all that I did come to Jeezy. So, I'm a trap star at heart. So, I did drive all the way to Baltimore to see Young Jeezy. So, I get a pass because I even hopped on the road.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Just don't miss the Wells.
Oh, I'm not. February 10th.
February
I just told y'all.
Y'all make sure y'all don't miss the Wells either.
So, if you wanted to, to me, I feel like you've covered Rick Ross, you've covered City Girls, you covered Dirk, Dirk multiple times, right?
Dirk multiple times.
The Lil Baby.
Multiple times.
The Baby. His Dope Fest was really huge, and that was like a good comeback, like after the pandemic. Who would be your ideal artist? I don't. If you want to say Jay-Z?
You know.
I'm gonna say. I felt like I knew he was gonna say Jay-Z.
You know I'm gonna say Jay-Z.
But go ahead and tell us why.
I mean, the crazy thing is, we just talked about is when I was in college, I really was locked in, and that's something like people really don't know about me. When I went to, I started throwing parties at 12, and then from there it was like I went away to college, and I was kind of like a fish out of water, for real. So I really just locked myself in and used to just be like really focused on like really becoming the marketing genius, or really learning like how big companies market. My major was marketing, so like I really locked in with that and was really focused. Hove was a huge inspiration for me during that time, just watching how he marketed companies and how he marketed his brand. So I used to do a lot of my top 3 entrepreneurs at that time when I was in college was Steve Jobs, Jay-Z, and Mark Zuckerberg. They was people that I just studied, of like learning just how they did what they did and how they marketed and how they grabbed the customers. So like that was a time where like I would be literally rolling out ideas with just at night. And it's funny because fast forward, the pandemic ended up being like a similar time for me. It kind of felt like that same school time of like locking yourself in on the laptop and watching interviews. And yeah, it kind of took me back to that space. And that a lot of things that we was able to roll out after the pandemic came from me having that time.
Well, I mean, similar to me, Home with J. Roche was definitely birthed during the pandemic. I literally had found a space that I wanted to open up an art gallery, an event space in Brewery Town. And March 9th, they called and said, we got, approved for the space and, how to move forward. So as we know, the world shut down on March 14th. And I'm like, I don't know what this is about to look like. You know what I mean? Like, how long are we going to be in this? And like, I remember the realtor kept saying, like, they want to know, are you going to move forward? They want to, are you going to move forward? And I'm like, I don't want to put myself in that jam. You know what I mean? Being responsible for this building, even though in hindsight, you could have probably like figured out some ways to get through it, but we never experienced anything like this.
Yeah,
like,
we didn't know when it was going to be over.
Yeah, like the Spanish flu was like 1922 or 1918 or something like that.
Right.
That's the only time that in the United States I feel like that they've experienced a pandemic where everything was shut down. So
salmon bites rolling too, by the way.
Okay, shout out to the salmon bites. But anywho, Home with J. Roche was birthed. I decided to, do this, and shout out to Bob. Bob's behind the scenes. But I literally called Bob and was like, hey, Bob, I want to do my kitchen over because I want to do a show. And he's like, what kind of show? I'm like, I want to be the next Martha Stewart. So in order to do that, I have to do my kitchen over. Are you down? And he was like, yeah, I'm down. Start doing the research. So I'm really doing his voice. So I called Bob, so Bob was down. So literally I worked midnight to 8 at the time. So I would literally be on YouTube watching videos like how to build butcher block countertops from scratch. I would send them to Bob. We would study them. Literally, he came over one night and he took a piece of paper and we sketched out my whole kitchen. Like the inches. This is going to be 84 inches. This is going to be this. I wouldn't have been able to do it without Bobby because I wanted to, in my mind, I had this vision of building this dream set for a lifestyle cooking show. Right. But I needed to create the kitchen, and all the contractors I was calling, they were like, oh, butcher block, that's really fairly new, or wood can warp or stuff like that. They was giving me all the things why I shouldn't do it.
Right.
Bob helped me down. I'm not taking no. I wasn't taking no. Bob and I went to BD's Lumber Supply. We picked out all the lumber. Hot as hell on a rainy day. You can imagine rain lumber is like smoldering in there. And we got it done. So shout out to the pandemic and all the people, all the entrepreneurs that was birthed during this time, because it was hard on everybody, but we was able to push through. So since you stayed at home, when you was home during that time, Did you start doing a little more? Did you become handy in the house? You know, did you do?
I ain't really like the. I'm not the handyman, honestly.
You gonna throw the cash at it?
I'm like, who can we pay to get over here? This is what I will say that the pandemic did. I was stuck in. I was living at wherever my home was at that time. During the pandemic, though, it was like I had to get creative. I started working out. I started really tuning in with myself, though. During the pandemic, like I started working out. I started figuring out like just things that I like to do that ain't had nothing to do with work. I was so locked in with work before the pandemic. It was like, all right, like what do Jameer want to do, or what do I personally got going on? But honestly, the spot that I was living in, I started feeling like once things start opening back up, I started feeling like I gotta get out of here because like it was feeling more like this was the pandemic. This is where I was locked in at. Like it's like
I need something else.
I need something else. So I ended up moving towards the end of the pandemic. And I did end up, I never, like my wife typically is the one that does the home decor. I ended up getting like my current home that I live in now is like, I probably did with the help of my sister, shout out to my sister, but with the help of her, I probably did 90% of the decor in our current home. So, and it's nice. I ain't gonna like. We got some paint. We got the
happy
most
spouse,
paintings.
happy house.
We got the most paintings we ever had. We kind of like we went white sofa. We was ducking that for a couple years.
That mean nobody sit on their couch with jeans on.
No, we just put the cover on when his company coming over. But I ended up getting it. Like I ended up tapping into a whole nother side of like I never did the home stuff before. Like
and art is an investment.
Yeah,
it's an investment.
And it was dope because I ended up purchasing art from like my friends. Like everybody I bought art from was people I was close to. One painting I was actually excited to purchase was shout out to Cheo. I ended up purchasing a real big painting from him that's like kind of like one of the staples in the apartment. But Cheo did all the art for our first festival, but Cheo like a childhood friend. Like I've been knowing Cheo since I was probably like 13, 14 years old.
Nice.
And he just said like, yo, I don't want nothing. Like I'm gonna do all the art you want for the festival, and I don't want nothing. I'm just proud of you.
I think I went to his show. And,
yeah.
I saw you there.
Shout out to Cheo because basically I was more so like when I started getting art for the house, I was more so like I gotta get a Cheo piece, and he had a piece that, like I ended up just buying a piece that he had made. It wasn't for me. It was like of a collection that he had, and I feel like it made the apartment. It was like the perfect piece.
It does, cause guess what? Well,
now I'm in it.
I love Chuck Styles. Going on record to say,
I know Chuck.
I'm going on record to say it. When everybody comes to my home, I get so many compliments on my Basquiat piece.
Oh yeah, I took a picture of that too when I first.
They love it. And I'm waiting on. I ordered the Crush on You piece that he just did, or he just released this week, Lil Kim. So I literally, when he posted it, I was like, I've been waiting on this for months. Like I literally was like, oh my god, I couldn't get my phone fast enough. Yeah. And I'm like, I think my Basquiat is like an 18 by 24. I'm like, no, I need to go big. I want the big one. Like, and then my friend, he's like, that's like a little risque for your downstairs. I'm like, it's art. I don't care. It's an expression. So, shout out to you for tapping into your inner
90% of the, I actually didn't even really think about it till
now.
I really killed the
We're gonna check facts with his wife and make sure it was a whole 90%. But we can
put the call. Y'all might catch that on the interview. I heard saying I did it.
She gonna be like, Jameer, get off my phone. But so okay, so we talked about Jay-Z, and I know that. And what platform would you do? Like, how would you do a Jay-Z experience? Because Dope Shows is an experience within itself. So
I mean, when I think like if we thinking like I always think big too. Like I mean, like you know me, but like even when I set out with Dope Shows, it was always like global. Like that was one of the first words. Like global concert promotion company. Like we gonna start here, but we out of here, not out of here like we won't do nothing for Philly, but the plan is to give the same experience that we created here around the world. Like give everybody that Philly vibe. Like even our logo in the beginning was the Philly P no matter where we go, they still feel the Philly in us type of thing. But a Jay-Z experience, I mean, I would love to get a Jay-Z tour. Like set up Hove everywhere do baseball stadiums or football stadiums type vibes. That's like thinking huge, right?
It's not thinking you just
But
moved to Wells Fargo, so
I'm saying, like,
it can be done.
if I can get Hove though, I do him in whatever capacity I can get him, because that's somebody that, like, honestly, I feel like I looked up to in so many ways, and like he kind of was it. Like, even watching how he handled business, even now, and I be in a lot of rooms, and it's like I think about interviews that I've seen, things that he's talked about, or how when he was in certain rooms, or just breaking down barriers. Like, I've been in rooms where I've been one of 5, like it might be 500 people in a room, and it's 5 of us.
Right.
It's like, it do give you a sense of responsibility when you in the rooms too, with like knowing, like, I've watched Hove in times where it's like he the only one in the room, but he making sure he's speaking for us. He making sure that they feel it, regardless of what. There usually be some controversy a lot of times surrounding those type of situations. But me being in rooms where it's like, dang, I'm looking around, it's like I could count on one hand how many of us is in here, and it might, some of them people might even be working.
Right.
It's like, dang, I got an obligation of making sure that, like, we really pushing our culture, or like making these big billion-dollar companies realize, like, we control this, our culture. It ain't no, like, you can't go in no country room. Like, you ain't going, it's not going to be a country radio station and there's black people running it.
So I'm happy that you said we have an obligation. So I often feel as though, since a lot of your shows are more like hip hop based, as we know, like a lot of things, like the climate, the climate of the culture right now.
Now I'm the only one eating.
No, I'm gonna eat, but now you got me. Now you got me in my interview bag, you know. So I'm like, I'm ready to ask some real questions.
Come on.
But as far as like, do you feel as though that artists today take the responsibility of like how things are going with like the youth? Like, do you feel like they really own into it, or they just capitalize off of what's going on? Because like, as far as like, if you take for instance like stuff that happened like with King Von and things like that, like sometimes like the violence, you see these like Chicago artists and stuff like that, and then they, you know, what they talk about, then you got places in other areas that they feel as though like they want to like mimic what's going on. Do you feel like as artists, or as you as a promoter, you have the obligation of like, listen, like, we're gonna change the dynamic so, you know, people don't
100% for us.
Okay.
Right? So, like, for us as a brand, I feel like I want to show the youth that, like, when I was a kid, I used to want to be a rapper. But it was because of what I seen. And then, like, I went through a period of time where I wanted to be a lawyer. And it was, and that was because, like, that was what I seen. Right? I seen a lot of, every time people, older guys around me was putting together the money, they was taking it to some type of lawyer. It was like, I want to do that.
Oh, yeah, because that's who getting the money.
That's who getting the money. I was always trying to figure out who was getting the money as a kid. But I feel like rappers got an obligation, because at the end of the day, it's like, one piece that I think that people don't realize about the rappers is that a rapper gets signed and they employ so many people. And I think they don't get enough credit for it, right? Okay. So, like, a rapper is really just a reporter to me, right? So if you look at Lil Durk is reporting on his experiences in America, right? Like what he's been subject to seeing, what he's been subject to living through. That's not necessarily Lil Durk's choice. I didn't ask to be born in Philadelphia.
Right.
That's just what happened. I could have been on the main line. I could have been in Beverly Hills. It could have went a lot of different ways, but I ended up being born in West Philly, and those was the cards I was dealt. Lil Durk was born in Chicago, and he had to make it through the Chicago streets because that was the life that chose him more so. Right. Now he's rapping about it and he's reporting about it. But somebody like storytelling. And somebody like Lil Durk, what people don't talk about is, if an artist gets signed, they end up snatching up 10, 20, 30 of their homeboys, and now they going on tour. Now they got a road manager. Now they got a production manager. These is people that would typically be in these neighborhoods or be in these hoods around America that's not in them hoods no more. Now they on road with Lil Durk. So
They don't have to be in there.
They don't got to be in that environment. They actually able to make money for their family. And I think a lot of times people get stuck on the music when it's like, yeah, that's his experiences. That's what he's rapping about. That's what's going on. But he also employing 20, 30 people. He also just came off of a $15 million tour. Like,
right.
It's a lot of things that go into it. So I think a lot of times the artists get bashed for talking about what they've seen or what their experience has been. But for real, it's a lot deeper, right? Like, it's like, it's a lot of other people we could be bashing other than the artist.
And also, we can't just put on the artist, because sometimes you gotta look at, like, understanding what's reality and what's storytelling. You know, like, I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of a young girl. Most of my friends know I was obsessed with Lil' Kim. Still is. You know, but if I wanted to blame her, I would have been out here. I used to be scared of doing whatever, you know what I mean? Imitating that and through my entire life. You know what I mean? So at some point you do have to separate what's fact and what's fiction. But
and I do think all of us got an obligation though. Because we all black. And we all coming up, and a lot of us don't have the knowledge. A lot of us don't know what to do. The youth I'm talking about. So it's like, today we was at West Philly High. Last week we was at Gratz, Building 21. Tomorrow we're going to be at Strawberry Mansion, Bartram. The school tours is going to continue to happen because for 7 years I worked in a school every day.
He doing the interview for me. I'm about to say, well, most people don't know that you were a dean before dope shows.
And honestly, that was some of like the most impactful stuff I've done in my life. Like, it was hard leaving the school. Like, I had a company. I had $1 million company.
Dean Show.
$1 million company. $1 million company. And I was depressed leaving somebody else's company. Just because of the attachment that I had to the kids. So, like,
it wasn't just the attachment. It was more so so you cannot put a price on peace. You can't put a price on impact. You can't put a price on influence. So therefore, no matter if you had $1 million company or not, you knew that it's some kids that don't have a father when they go home. So when they come to school, that love, that attention that they get from you, 100%. That's the void that they have at home.
And it's like, yeah, but the vision is bigger, and I can help more kids if we really get this going. But they didn't care. It was like, yo, you've been our dean for like, it was kids that I watched. I knew before they knew how to tie their shoes. And like, now they in 6th grade, 7th grade. And it's like, now I'm like, I got, the businesses need me. They wasn't trying to hear it. It was hard.
That gotta be hard.
It was hard.
Cause I remember I had gotten into a car accident and I couldn't work for a while, but I could only work like part-time. So my girlfriend was like, hey, you know, we need help at the Montessori school. Would you be willing to come up here and work like till like 1 o'clock or something? I started working from like, I guess like 7 something to 1 with the kids there. I literally would like feel like achy on the weekends, like when I didn't see them and stuff like that.
People don't realize like the kids, they start to become a part of your life. Like, it's honestly right now my rental company, and like this not nothing I ever talk about. My rental company has 11 employees, and that's including my wife and I, because we still employees if we gotta jump in. 9 employees, 7 of them.
His rental company is Sitting Pretty. He didn't say that, but
I actually been doing that a lot too. Like,
saying
a rental company and not
Sitting Pretty, and they
Sitting Pretty event rental. We do tables, chairs, linens,
corporate events.
Any event that you have in it, you need tables, chairs, linens. Hit us, we got you. But the point that I was also making, I needed to plug that, but literally out of the 9 employees, that's not my wife and I. 7 of them is my former students. So like kids that was once my students, 7 of my employees, like my manager of the entire company is somebody that was once my 8th grade student. And like we stayed in touch
dope
for years. Like I told him 5 years ago when he started working at Sitting Pretty, he wasn't a manager at that point, clearly. But like, yo, like I look at Sitting Pretty as a business that like I could change everybody's lives for the youth that I was able to touch during that time. Like, and that even keeps me connected because regardless of how big Dope Shows get, is like I'ma be at the warehouse on Saturday. I'm going to be at the warehouse on Sunday to make sure that the orders is going out and make sure also that my staff feel that energy of like, dang, he might have just had a show Friday night, but he right back here 6 a.m. making sure we good.
But they gonna take it. They gonna take it serious because you take it serious. So when you have any type of business and you want people to believe in it, and I have fallen short of this before. You know, you could get lax. But the more serious and the more dedicated your staff or your team see that you are, you know, they're prone to take it that way as well. So shout out to you because I know with concerts, promo, he did like 2 interviews probably before he came to see me today. So to just keep that momentum,
press run.
Yes, to keep that momentum up and to just be able to just, you know, go and still be so present and active and having kids that can directly connect to you, that's really, really important. So
I think consistency, though, is important in general for business.
I done had this Hennessy, so I'm sorry, y'all. He probably gonna take over the interview.
No, this how our happy hours be, though. This like a real joint, though.
All right, so before he get into whatever he's about to say next, a real happy hour, we will take a shot. So can we like pause and get into
Pause,
like a
let's
shot?
take a shot.
Okay.